Welcome to our live stream. I'm here today with art prof teaching artist Jordan McCracken Foster and Lauren Welch. Today, we are going to be talking about how to build your confidence as an artist and different experiences that might help you build that. If you would like to grow as an artist and you can't afford an art class, we've got everything you need here at Art Prof, critiques and tutorials. Let's start out by defining what is confidence as an artist mean? Because I think actually for some people, it's very different depending on who you ask. So Jordan, what does confidence as an artist mean for you?
I think, especially for those who are pursuing art as a career or something to make money off of, I think it's really important to be secure in yourself first, because if you can find that sort of confidence, then it will apply to your artwork. And when you feel comfortable enough to show people and to be able to put to practice a lot of these things that you're learning and put out a product that you're happy with, I think that that's often what I would see as a confident artist.
That's interesting because for me, confidence is very in the moment. For example, when I sit down and I'm going to do a drawing, I have to be in the right mindset. If I'm feeling sort of bummed out, I can't draw. And so it really, for me, affects the direct experience. I don't think about it as much long-term or in the past. Lauren, what does confidence as an artist look like to you?
I have confidence in the process of making artwork and the process of being an artist, meaning that I don't necessarily have confidence in my own skills. I feel pretty low on the ladder of skill sets, but I do know that if I make a lot of things, I will get better over time. And that helps me feel less bad when I make a really crappy painting or drawing. In fact, that motivates me to then make more drawings and paintings.
And we got a cool comment here from Satan Takes Me to the Pasta. Maybe it means knowing your skill level in an objective manner, not overvaluing or undervaluing yourself. Cool. I really like that people have such different opinions about it. And so we're going to go through and we're going to talk about experiences that the three of us have had in the past, almost pivotal moments or experiences that for us were big driving forces behind developing that confidence. And I know for Jordan, it really comes down to quantity, doesn't it? Because I don't know anybody on the planet that's done more quick sketches than you. Why was that so pivotal for you in terms of your confidence?
Well, first of all, I didn't create the idea of the quick studies. Like I wasn't the first person to think that I should do them. I was told by art mentor of mine, and he said that, and I admired his work so much, and I said, okay, maybe if I want to get to this level, I should have him tell me what he did. And one of the things was this challenge called the 2,500 drawings. And some people who've done our previous streams or in Discord know what I'm talking about. It's a challenge where you draw 1,000 heads, 500 arms, 500 legs, 250 hands, and 250 feet. And they're each 5 to 10 minute sketches. And the idea is just you're going to get better naturally over time, but it's about the repetition and the consistency.
Yeah, Jordan, I think Levy Fiction should maybe participate in that 2,500 challenge or something similar, because they say I'm never confident in anything I do, which slows down actually completing anything. Afraid to try new things until I am sure they work. So I'm wondering if either of you have that experience where you're afraid to try something new and then maybe do some planning to get beyond that hesitancy.
Yeah.
I don't know, Clara, what about you?
I mean, I think that's why Jordan's approach to doing just an obscene number of quick sketches is a really good solution, because you take away the pressure of having to produce finished work. Because Jordan, when you're doing these quick sketches, where's your head making these?
You know, I feel really loose and really free. I actually remember exactly where I was, where I did some of these. I was sitting on the couch and I was watching Netflix on the big TV, and I had my clipboard and I was just doing this stuff because I wanted to practice everything that you see here. And like Clara said, just by doing these quick studies, it really helps take my mind off of things. And if something's inaccurate, then I don't worry as much because I know I'm not really showing anybody. I mean, at the time I didn't know I was going to we were going to be on the stream, but it's just more for me. So the pressure just subsides a lot.
A quick question having to do with this challenge of drawings. Is there a link to that Discord, or is it just an offline challenge? Can we give a brief explanation of what the 2,500 drawing challenge is for those who don't know yet?
Sure. For those who don't know, it's a list of the things I just mentioned earlier, the 1,000 heads, 500 arms, etc. And the idea is you're supposed to do that in a year's time. Just use regular pencil and paper. Sketches don't need to be that big, maybe 2 or 3 inches. And the idea is just to put in that pencil mileage so that you can improve. The human figure, typically speaking, is the most common yet the most difficult thing on the planet to draw. People can draw human figures for decades and still not feel like they've mastered it. And Chuck Jones even once said, we each have, 10,000 bad drawings in us. And so by doing the 2,500 challenge, you go through a quarter of those bad drawings. And it's just immediately going to help you grow. And the people on the Discord have seen growth in just a couple of weeks. So as far as it being an offline challenge, you could do that if you want to, but I recommend doing it in a community of people like the ones on Discord.
Yeah, just a quick note, Jay Chung. Yes, we have a channel on Discord entirely dedicated to this challenge, and it also has both Jordan's Pinterest full of references to use for it, and then it sounds like Clara also made a Flickr account with a whole bunch of hands and feet and head references. So all of that, everything you need to start is available on the Discord if you want to join, but you can also do it on your own.
And so, Jordan, you did the 2,500 challenge pretty early on. I mean, what were you, like 16 when you did it?
Something like that, 15, 16. It took me longer than a year to complete it, so it's kind of hard to like really say. But I think I was at least 14 when I started, and I also thought I had to do more hands than was officially assigned. So it took me a while. But I also repeated the challenge in grad school, and I'm doing it again now. So I'm getting my fill in for sure.
I mean, Jordan, I feel like in some ways that challenge, it's almost like your foundation. It's something you can continually refer to as being a reliable injection of confidence, I suppose, because most 14-year-olds are not doing that. And I imagine, what did it feel like when you did them all? You step back, oh my God, I did the whole thing. How did that feel?
You know, that was so cool because everyone at school knew I was doing it because they would constantly just see a sketchbook full of all these hands. And no one really does that on their own. And I remember one teacher, she actually wrote a poem about me drawing a bunch of hands. And then I also won the Fine Arts Achievement Award at my school, which is offered to one student per year in the graduating class. So I felt like a little celebrity for a day. It was really cool. Besides the skill and the growth and all that.
I think sketches are all well and good, and we can definitely build up our confidence there. But W315 Bird says, I need the confidence to use the good paper and do more than sketches. How do you get from sketch practice area to big realized project confidence arena?
I mean, I don't think it has to be such a big leap. Because, Jordan, we're looking at these character sketches that you did for your thesis project. I don't think you just started doing this the next day. I think it can be a more gradual segue than that. So, for example, we have these quick sketches, but I imagine maybe you did some quicker color sketches where the color wasn't perfect and it was a little sloppy looking. And I just think that leap doesn't have to be as gigantic as people think. Like, Lauren, you do all kinds of color thumbnails before you start painting, right?
Yeah, that actually helped a lot, especially my first semester at Hunter here. I've always been really slow to complete paintings because I am just like W315 Bird's comment about using the good paper. I get so scared of working on big canvases. And turns out it was because I was approaching them, even though I made all these sketches, I was approaching them very free form. I wasn't doing a lot of planning on how to get the thumbnail to the larger piece. And, you know, working very small versus working very large is very different. They're extremely different movements. So it's almost like you're having to start over when you go to the large scale. So what I found what I needed is even more planning. I needed to actually put in an underpainting on my larger pieces, and I needed to grid out things on a basic level to properly transfer proportions onto the larger things. And that's helped me feel much more confident about my larger work, has helped me feel like I can really have fun with my brush strokes and focus on that rather than feeling hesitant and nervous and scared about putting a shape in the right place. So maybe a very technical, small, practical thing to help build confidence is to just add planning steps. If you feel nervous about a particular area, just add more steps to get you up to where you need.
I really like this comment. Tom is saying, I sometimes feel confident in the moment. Looking back at my work, I cringe a little and I become self-critical. I think we've all been there where we look at the work and we think, oh, that's not as good as I want it to be. And Jordan, I imagine you looked back at some of your character studies and, that's not really what I want. How do you push past that?
Honestly, if you are able to look back at your old work and cringe, that usually means you've grown since you made the artwork. And I actually feel better when that happens, because there's some drawings I have, even like, since we're looking at this right now, I'm kind of going like, that's off, this is off, the eyes too, that, you know, and I have all these emotions, but I now look back, you know, 6, 7, 8 months later after these drawings were first made, and I'm like, I'm so much better now. I know the mistakes that I made and I don't worry about it. Now I can continue to go forward and think about the future and all the things I want to do for my future artworks.
What about this particular situation that Eunice is bringing up? Every time I start my artwork, I get very confident, but I lose my confidence gradually when I go through the work. What has been your experience, Clara, with that middle ground of working on a piece?
I've come to accept that every project I work on is a roller coaster. Things don't get better. In fact, most of the time it's like, okay, this isn't so bad. Oh no, what's going on? This is the worst thing I've ever made. And if you guys watch some of my live drawing tutorials, you'll see that emotional roller coaster that I ride. I mean, my feeling is that if you don't like the way it's going, you can only go up, right? So you just hit this low and then build yourself back up. And that's okay. That's just the process. And I think it's unrealistic to expect that things will continually improve, because they won't. And sometimes they never improve. And you just put it aside and you make another one. And in fact, that's really what happened when I did this project called Falling a couple years ago. This for me was really a landmark project, and it really gave me a boost of confidence that I'd never had before. And it's funny, Jordan, it's similar to yours in that the quantity was a really big part of it. I did not make 2,500 self-portraits, but I did make 50, and each one was 4 feet by 3 feet. And so I had never really done a project like that before. All of my prior projects, I do 20 pieces. Sometimes they were this size or so, but I'd never gotten beyond 20. And so the thought of doing more than double the quantity that I'd done before seemed so ludicrous in my head that I thought, you know what, if I can pull this off and not flake out, that's going to really say something. And the project was not just self-portraits. I also did 50 sculptures. So I did those, and I also did a whole bunch of mezzotints, and it's the longest project I've ever worked on. I worked on it for 4 years, which is insane, because most of my other projects, it would be a year tops. And so learning to stay with a subject for that long was hard. I mean, have you found that to be the case, Lauren, just keeping that focus?
Oh, yeah. Actually, one of the things that I've really had trouble with is knowing when to move ahead with an idea, because when you have a whole bunch of concepts in your head or in your sketchbook, that's all they are. They're just ideas, and you have no way. It's like starting a relationship. You don't know if it's going to be a good thing or not. And I mean, you just explained this situation where you worked with the same subject for 4 years. That is a 4-year commitment. That is living with that material for 4 years. So I've definitely had that feeling of uncertainty about those things, but really I find what is best in moving ahead and not overthinking it is to just make artwork and live in the moment and make things from those particular groups that speak to you at that point in time, and not worry about developing this larger fancy concept. You can't make things, you can't like reverse engineer stuff, or you can't start with the final concept. It's something that comes to you over a long period of time. It's never all right there.
Now, Jordan, I feel sort of silly saying I did 50, and Jordan's like, I did 2,500. But the quantity thing is interesting, because you would think, okay, she sat down and made 50 drawings in a row. I did not. I made 65. So Jordan, take a guess. Why did I make 65 when I could have just made 50?
I mean, first off, naturally, you probably get tired of it. Just like, I need a break, which happens to a lot of us. The other thing is, sometimes I think what ends up happening is sometimes we go full steam ahead and we put out so much. And then when you binge draw like that, oftentimes your growth kind of stagnates. It doesn't really actually go up the way that you want it to. So sometimes taking that break and just looking back and going like, okay, I can look at this and this and improve that. I think that's the pattern that's been for me. Like for the 2,500, I've known people. I knew one girl who literally did over 1,000 drawings in a week's time. I do not recommend that, but her drawings they're good, but they kind of look the same. Whereas someone who took a couple of weeks or a couple months to do a set of 1,000 drawings, you're going to see improvement gradually, and probably even higher up than what would have been the initial output.
I think that's related to Luke's comment here. It says, whenever I compare myself too much, I try to keep a mental image of each artist's best work as rising up from a personal pile of their cringy, transitory 2,500 drawings. So you have to make all these extra ones, and then you can pick out 2,500 is a ton of drawings. You can pick out the best 100 to show people all the time. And other people don't see all those other ones that you made. I know with Clara, with your project, you made 65, and then you can pick the 50 you actually want in there. It gives you more curatorial wiggle room, right?
And you know what else helped me as well was switching media, because I did the 50 self-portrait drawings, and then after that, I did sculptures. And then I did these mezzotint prints that you're looking at here. And so that helped a lot. Like if I had done the whole project as only drawings, I don't think I could have done it. I think switching to the sculpture, it was a change of pace, and it helped reset and refresh my point of view on the subject matter, because the subject was the same throughout all the projects. But once you start to see it through a different lens in something that's three-dimensional, you can keep yourself going. Because actually, Heather Sayers is saying here, I find it really difficult not to try and rush to finish a painting on the same day as I start, but I have no idea why. I'm going to guess, Heather, it's because it's really satisfying to finish something, right? Like, Lauren, how do you feel when you finish a painting?
Oh, man, I feel so unhealthy when this happens. And I know it's something everybody feels, but I am always rushing to get to the finish line, even though I'm so slow, because I love having something that I can actually show people. I always feel like these middle steps are this weird limbo that I'm uncomfortable with, and am uncomfortable having outside of my studio. And I just want the progress to happen, you know? I want that getting better, that transition to really speed up. So I think it's a natural feeling. You just have to constantly be aware of the fact that these things still take time. And if you are working on a painting or a drawing and it takes you 2 months to do versus a day to do, if you're putting in that same amount of hours, you're still learning the same amount of stuff within that time. Just because you finish a drawing really short doesn't mean that it's making you better really quickly, I guess, if that makes sense.
Well, so I think also another part of it is that in conjunction with making these projects, I also published an exhibition catalog. I had a full essay that was written about the work, and I had multiple exhibitions. I had a solo show at Risty Brown Hillel Gallery. I also had another one at UMass Amherst. And there's something about that presentation that cements that project. Like Jordan, you just came off a huge project, which was your master's thesis. How did that feel to really like share it with people and say, hey, this is done?
You know, it was an amazing feeling because, and it was also kind of bittersweet because I worked up a year and a half, 2.5 years worth of, you know, art and training and all this stuff, and to present it to my directors was, it's one of those feelings that I can't really describe. But part of me in the back of my mind was like, this project's not over. This is just the beginning, and I'm going to keep working on it. So that's just how I deal with it. But it's always a great feeling, but I always end up feeling like there's more I can do. Like, what's the next step? I'm one of those people that always find something to do. And my mom and I have this joke, like, if you were to have me just sit and do nothing for like 2 or 3 days, I would get bored out of my mind and I would just start going insane. So I always had to pick something up again.
And now another thing that really helped me a lot was having mentors, people who I respected as artists who told me early on that they believed in me as an artist. That was fundamental to my confidence. And Lauren, I know you've had a bunch of mentors, and this is a stream where we did talk about different mentors we've had in the past. Jordan, you as well. You've had mentors. Why does that matter for an artist who you respect to give you that confidence boost?
You've got an expert, someone that you really value their opinion. They're telling you that you can do it too. What is more motivational and confidence boosting than that? It's like having, it just gives you that seal of approval. And it's not just you in your head, it's someone outside of you saying, hey, you can do this too. But what I think we are in a very privileged position, all three of us having gone to art school, gone to like very fancy art school, and having those people, those mentors really close by to give us this guiding hand and say, hey, you're making good work. And what have either of you been in a position where you haven't had someone nearby to spur you on? What do you do if there isn't someone that knows a whole lot about art that can't give you encouragement?
Well, we have this comment from Tom G. They're saying, sharing work on Instagram or the Art Prof Discord has helped me feel more confident when I get not just praise, but useful feedback. Now, Jordan, we've talked a lot about how not helpful family and friends can be when it comes to getting feedback. Why does it matter to hear from a community of artists as opposed to, say, your mom, Jordan?
So there's 2 types of confidence. There's true and false. And I think the true confidence is what we're really talking about, the getting helpful critique and pushing yourself and those kinds of things. But without having someone who has an artistic eye, or if it's music, a musical ear, or whatever the case may be, there's certain people who just can't really help you, and they'll say everything's really good that you do. But in reality, when you show it to a professional, they go like, no, you need to work at this, 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 and this. And so when you have a mentor, when you have someone who can guide you, who's been where you've been and is where you want to be, that's always really valuable. And I think it's incredibly helpful for beginning artists, especially, to try and find someone or a group of people who can guide them. because you can't really figure it out on your own. I mean, you could, but why would you want to do that? You have all these, we have the internet, so why do it all yourself?
I also feel like part of it is not just getting positive feedback. I honestly think that for a lot of artists, we just want to be seen. We want somebody to acknowledge that what we're doing is worth it, because a lot of us have had people look down on our profession or say, oh, you're going to starve, and that's such a stupid profession. And so when you have somebody who has made it in a way as an artist, it makes you feel valid. And maybe that's what we're all looking for, is validation. So who knows? But Lauren, you have a very different take on the confidence, in that your, I guess, big moments in terms of building confidence were not as a practicing artist, but actually as a gallery manager. So what was that like?
Yeah, so in my particular field, which is painting in a fine art kind of sense, as painters, our big relationship is with galleries and getting exhibition opportunities and getting patrons and sponsors and these kinds of things. So the gallery system is like the big gateway, gatekeeper system. And when you go to these places, these actual literal white cubes, they feel very exclusive, very fancy. And you as a young art student, me as a young art student, was like, oh, how am I even going to survive? They hate me. I can feel them glaring at me behind the counter there. I'm such a plebeian. And so I never wanted to talk with these people, even though that is who I need to at least thrive in the art world. So in having a job at a local gallery, I realized that isn't a blue chip gallery like Pace or Gagosian or something like that, but it did give me access to both talking with those galleries, because we would exchange artwork, especially with showing art from larger artists, and also smaller galleries around the community, and I could see behind the scenes what they were doing and what we were doing. And there's this real shop talk that happens between gallery directors and gallery grunts, the people that work the front desk, and the art handlers, and the people that prep the space, and the maintenance people. We're all dealing with the same issues, and we're all having the same kinds of problems come up in putting together a show and having artists come in that have not so great handling practices and all that, or real big personalities. So it was a really huge turning point, realizing that the people that run these spaces, while it has this veneer of looking very respectable and fancy, they are also just people that are always problem solving and always putting out fires. And that was a huge confidence booster for me as an artist, being able to go into a space and then have a conversation with these people and also show my work with these people. I could both anticipate what they wanted, because I knew what I needed as a gallery director, but also it helped me realize that the way I handle myself as an artist is really not that different from other artists and other very fancy artists. That was really cool.
For sure. I mean, Jordan, I know that you're in the process of putting Shadow Boxers, your project, out there, and it does feel very much like you're on jury. Sometimes like people are judging you, and you're pitching things, and oh, what do they think and everything. And it can make you feel very powerless in a way. And that's why the internet is so helpful, because sometimes you don't have to wait around. And brick and mortar galleries can make you feel that way, because you can't just get into a show. Whereas, Jordan, I know you've already started putting Shadow Boxers online. I mean, did you find that empowering?
Yes and no. I think it's empowering in the sense that I'm really proud of what I've worked on, but it's also really it's really nerve-wracking, because kind of like what you said a while ago, Clara, that validation is something that I also seek. I really want people to like it. And so there's, you get mixed feelings. But thankfully, so far, like 99% of the feedback I've gotten has been positive. I can't say that's the same for everything I'm ever going to do or have done in the past. So that definitely helps for sure.
We have a comment here from Ethereal. I know all the fundamentals of painting. I've done a lot of research, art and art history, found artists that inspire me. I've created works similar, but in doing so, I feel like I've lost the technique. It doesn't seem hard anymore. Hard as in like painting a portrait is hard. So am I doing worse art because there is little traditional technique involved? What's your take, Lauren?
So this is something that I think was maybe trying to be approached in a previous stream that I think Jordan and Alex did on talent, whether art was a skill or a talent. And I think that, I hope that was the right stream. I think that there is this idea that art is a single talent that you try to master, and that's really a myth. There are a lot of different components to art making, both technique-wise and like execution-wise and concept-wise. So if you're feeling like you have made it in a particular technique or set of techniques, that means that now is the time to be really scrutinizing your concept and how you are building things. This could be, say, developing a body of work, a series like you did, Clara, or it could be researching a new topic that maybe you're interested in your non-art life and bring that into your art world. I don't think that it is very useful to compare one technique to another and say one is better than another, because everything is so different and the art world is constantly changing. You really have to evaluate work and other artists' work on a case-by-case basis. But I also think that's very empowering, because it means that there's not just one skill or one talent that you're born with or you're really good with. Different people come into the world with different sets of strengths and weaknesses.
And you know something? It's okay to leave some of those exercises behind. Like Jordan, you've done so much drawing from a live model in a classroom, right? You don't do that so much anymore, but that's cool, right?
It is and it isn't. I wish I could go back and draw. But yeah, that's true. Like there are periods of time where I'm like, I need to practice something else. Or like just the other day, I was like, man, I need to, break out of the, I was kind of getting bored of characters for a little bit. I was like, I need to start practicing something else. So I'm still deciding what that's going to be. But I think it's totally natural to feel kind of not stuck necessarily, but that urge to try something new. And I think that's what life's about, just trying new things, whether it's new food, go to a new location, watch a new TV show or movie or something like that. Because after a while, if you keep things the same, it just starts to be monotonous and it's not as exciting. And life is meant to be, changing all the time. So if you or anyone else is feeling like you're getting stuck in a space, try pushing yourself, try something brand new, try a new medium, a new subject matter, build something that you never thought you would, or maybe it's always been in the back of your mind for 15 years and now you're at a space where you can do that. The sky's the limit.
Tom G is saying, I have an issue with feeling confident enough to offer feedback to other artists, especially those that I think have more experience or talent than I do. I think that is kind of a point that is related to that, in that this very fancy artist that has a lot of experience and talent could be approaching a subject that is new to them, an area of beginnerhood for them. And so maybe Tom, you as an artist or a critique person, has more experience in that particular subject matter and can be able to give feedback like that. I think it's important to realize that you have feedback skills and art making skills are also two very separate things. And I know plenty of people in my life that maybe don't make a whole lot of artwork, or that's not their genre, but have a really good eye or are really good at talking about things. Clara, is that your experience too?
Well, I think it's very common for people to feel that way, Tom. I don't know anybody who hasn't thought that at some point. And actually, a good example of this is the Art Prof Discord, because as you know, we have staff that are in there who are not the teaching artists. I mean, I had a bunch of staff members this past summer. Some of them were high school students. And a lot of them said to me, oh, well, who am I to give feedback to these people? They draw better than I do. I don't have any right to critique them. And what I say to them is, look, if you post your work in the Art Prof Discord and somebody makes a comment, do you look up that person online and say, ooh, Lauren, is she any good? Let me see if Lauren's worthy of giving me critique. Oh, she's not very good at painting, lighting. I can't take this comment. I mean, nobody does that ever. I mean, Jordan, when you get feedback, you're probably stoked, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are some people who may not be as skilled as they want to be, but I go to them all the time because they give the best feedback. And like, there's like 2 or 3 people I always call up who they all say that I am better in certain areas than them, and I'll still go to them all the time. So, like Lauren said, sometimes they just have that eye.
Now, sometimes the confidence boost is from something really not glamorous, like packing your artwork. How does this give you confidence, Lauren, sorry.
Oh, man. This is kind of like if you're going to a big date or you're going to the prom, right? And everybody's supposed to look beautiful at the prom. So you put on your nice dress and you put on your makeup and you go to the prom and you feel really good about yourself. You get lots of pictures done. You have a good night. So preparing for an exhibition is kind of the same way. You have all these pieces that are lying around your space. And at least in my case, I'll schlep them from place to place. I'll have dinged up corners, and because I'm living with them all the time. So they're just objects to me. But when it comes to presenting something either for a critique, not usually a critique, but definitely an exhibition or an art fair, what really helps me is packaging them really nicely, really making them worth that time. So I will put them in the glassine, the archival glassine. I'll put them in the rain-resistant plastic. I will make cardboard corners for each and every one of them and label them. And then I will present it in 2 hands to the gallery. Here you go. Here is my very expensive and well-done piece of artwork. And that is a huge confidence booster for me in dealing with these very fancy places. And something that I learned from working in a gallery, I always loved it when I received very well-packed artwork. Sometimes you have to fake it till you make it. And in something as subjective as art, if it is packaged in something very fancy, you are more likely to look at it as a valuable object.
I will have to say, Lauren, the first time I had a painting custom framed, I was like, wow, my art is so good. I'm like, it looks amazing. I mean, it's like nothing describes what that feels like because we're so used to just tossing our stuff left and right. I mean, Jordan, you probably have like stacks, right? In your room. And it's like, you don't really think about them as being that special because they're just sitting around. But when you see it on the wall and there's a beautiful mat around it, I mean, that is so satisfying. So it might feel like a small thing to package your work, but it makes a big difference, I think.
I've got a great story that is the corollary of this. It didn't happen to me. It happened to my dad, who's also a fine artist. When he was doing his master's, he was not good at his presentation. His mat boards that he made for his work were all cut wrong. Like they had overcuts and they were not quite 90 degrees, right angle. Like they were a mess. And he got comments from people in his, I don't know if it was his thesis show, but one of the shows they did. And they were like, you really need to present your work better. It's not, I'm focusing on all of the errors and not the actual work. So if you don't take pride in your appearance or your work's appearance, people also notice that and then don't value your work as highly. It sounds very superficial, but it does make a huge difference. You really want people to focus on the actual artwork as itself. So if you can get the nice mat, if you can think about the framing, that is also a part of how people see the artwork as a whole.
For sure. I think that It seems little, but it matters. Like Jordan, when you did your shadow boxers and you had those character sheets, I mean, you spent forever picking the colors of the border, right?
Yeah, I made sure everything was color picked properly, the same typeface and font and size. Like everything was super important because I don't want people to get distracted over little stupid stuff that would take a couple seconds to fix.
Anyway, guys, we have a Art Prof podcast, which you can listen to on Spotify, also available on iTunes. We would love it if you guys would leave us a rating and a review. And please join us on the Art Prof Discord in about 5 minutes. We will be in the post live streams channel. If you are not in the Art Prof Discord, you should join because it's where all the cool kids hang out. The invite link is in the video description below. And subscribe to our YouTube channel and join the Art Prof family. And thank you so much to our top Patreon supporters who keep everything going. Thank you to everybody who watched the video live, participated with your comments and your questions. You guys enriched the conversations so much. Everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.